So, dear participants, today we have a very eminent expert with us. Morning session is Dr. Sandeep Grover. Dr. Grover is basically, as of now, working as professor in mechanical engineering at JC Bose University of Science and Technology, which was earlier known as YMCA, in Faridabad, Haryana. This is a A-grade NAC academic university which has been promoted by the government of Haryana. Uh, During his illustrious career, Dr. Grover has held posts which include as Vice Chancellor of the University, Registrar, Dean Engineering and Technology, Dean Management Studies, Dean Institutions, Dean Quality Assurance, and Head of the Department. Basically, a mechanical engineer, he's done his BTech in engineering, MTech in engineering and technology, and PhD in the field of quality management. Dr. Grover has also authored over 100 papers in national and international journals and conferences. And his research interests as well as research guidance is in the areas including TQM, manufacturing quality, education quality, and application of MADM approaches. He is also associated with different regulatory bodies for quality related activities. So again, he is a very apt expert for this kind of a course. He has also delivered expert lectures in various institutions in the country on topics including quality management in manufacturing, education quality, research and paper writing, application of graph theoretic approach. Besides that, he's a NAC assessor, he's a NB assessor, he's associated with UGC, AICT in their various committees. So he's effectively a policy maker also besides being a professor. He has a very high H index, I10 index and all that. So all in all, you can say that Dr. Grover has, over the period of his career, many accomplishments in administration, in quality assurance, and developing institutions, in running institutions. And I hope you will be able to get the best out of him because he has a perspective from both sides of the spectrum, as a teacher as well as an assessor or as a policymaker. Sir, please, may I invite you for your lecture now?
Thank you. So a very good morning to you all participants. Thank you, Professor Gill and Dr. Dhaliwal for inviting me and introducing me. So as I have come to know that today is the last day of the program, so I am sure that most of the things regarding the SAR, and the other intricacies of the document you are well aware of. And I have been given a task to talk about the various documents and the files that are required for the NBA criteria. So accordingly, I will be.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
A bit louder, sir, if possible.
A bit louder. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So let me share my screen. Yeah, so I hope you are able to see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, put in slideshow mode, sir.
Pardon?
Slideshow.
Yeah. Just hold on. Just hold on. Let me have some improvement in this. Yeah, it is okay now, right?
Yes, sir.
So let us talk with the various documents and files that are required for the NBA accreditation. So I will be moving like this. For 5-10 minutes, I will talk about the basic of OB to start with, to give a just an initial boost to our lecture. And then we'll also come to know what are the various documents that are available on the website of the NBA. Since NBA is a transparent process, so all the documents are available on their website. And what are the documents that are available to the evaluation team? And similarly, I have prepared a small list. Criteria-wise, I have tried to bifurcate that what are the various documents and files required for each criteria. And then what are the evidences or the documents that are to be kept ready as per the SAR in the last part they have given. And specific attention would be also on the teacher's files or on the course file that we are normally talking about in the documents. And then how these all are to be available on the institutional website. So if during lecture, if there is any question, please ask me, or maybe at the end of the lecture, we will spare some time to have some discussion. You can also write in the chat box. I will be able to see later on. To start with, every program, whether diploma, UG or PG program, has got certain objectives that we intend to achieve as the outcomes. So since this is the last of the program, I am sure that you all are aware that when I'm talking about program, I'm talking about a program like diploma in mechanical engineering or BTech in electronics engineering. So those are the programs that are called here. And typically the courses that sometimes we confuse with them. In this terminology, when we say courses, then we are talking about the subjects. So objectives are the statements which describes what the learner is expected to achieve. So that means whatever the instructions, whatever specific knowledge, whatever skill, whatever we are imparting during the period of time. So that we intend to achieve them as the objectives. And outcomes are actually the expectations at the end of the program. So they are the...
May I request participant Ms. Sonia? Yes, thank you.
So objectives are typically broad aspects of behavior, which can be in terms of the knowledge, which can be in terms of the skill, which can be in terms of the value additions, by the demonstration of performance. So outcomes are something we are expecting at the end of the program, and that's why we call them as expected outcomes. So dear colleagues, I have always been talking about that objectives and outcomes are like banks of a river. So on the one side you got objectives, and on the other side you intend to achieve them as the outcomes. So anything during this course of time, maybe 4 years or 3-year diploma. So whatever activity you are doing, that has to be connected to the objectives or the outcomes. So you can't say that you are organizing some cultural programs, or you are organizing some industrial visit or some expert lecture. Yes, everything that we are doing, they are somehow connected with our objectives or what we intend to achieve with them as the outcomes. So that's why we have been more now talking about the concept of the outcome-based education, and which is primarily a student-centric education. And as far as this outcome-based system is concerned, I will take another 2 minutes to explain you that what is the difference between output-based education and the outcome-based education. See, in the output-based education that we were mostly talking maybe about 1 or 1.5 decades ago, we were specifically talking about the marks only. That means the quantitative aspect or the exact measurables. So when you talk about outcome, it is more than something the quantitative aspect. It is more than the marks. It is something which the industry is expecting or which the outside world is expecting. So if I make a statement that 70% of the students have obtained marks more than 75%, then that is a output-based statement. But at the same time, if I say that 70% of the students have those desired knowledge, outcomes in terms of the knowledge or in the skills or in the behavioral aspect that is required for the industry or for the outside world, then that is outcome. When we were talking about pure output, then even at the 90% marks, even if I say that the pass percentage is 90%, then also the industry said that no, the graduates are not employable. So that means it is something beyond the mark system. It is something beyond the just the grades that the industry or the outside world expects. So that's why we intend to inculcate concepts like teamwork, concepts like, the change management, the concepts like some of the, modern skills required. So that is the reason that we have now drifted to the outcome-based education. So this slide typically talks about, the inputs and the outputs and the outcomes. So as I told you about the students, similarly about the faculty, or say about the research of the faculty. So if I say that somebody has, say, 80 publications, so those are just the numbers, those are just the publication numbers. So more importantly, we are interested in the outcome. That means whether those publications are in Web of Science, whether those publications are in Scopus, what is the citation, what is the H-index, I-10 index. So that means we are more concerned about the qualitative aspect. So this is the difference between the output and the outcome system. And now our world requires, our system requires, our MBA accreditation requires the outcome-based education as based on the, the Washington Accord, to which we are the permanent signatory. So it is not only NBA, all the regulatory bodies, all the accreditation bodies have been now talking about the outcome-based education. So AICTE, all of us are aware that AICTE has already included course outcomes and similar concepts in the model curriculum, and also covers the Bloom's taxonomy levels in the exam reform policy that was there in 2018. So all such documents, all the course structures, everything we are now talking in AICTE, we are talking as related to the outcome-based education. And it is not only this, we have also been talking about the knowledge beyond the books and in various fields as per the NEP 2020, also as per the National Education Policy 2020 also. So the new things that have been come up, they're all talking about the what a student requires as a knowledge beyond the books or beyond the curriculum, be it a Atal courses, or be it something like the UHV courses, Universal Human Value courses of AICTE, or all such similar things that have been coming up. It is more about the outcome that is required from the student. Similarly, another regulatory body, UGC, University Grants Commission, has also lately given the learning outcome-based curriculum framework, which they call as LOCF, and you find that they have given recommendations for various programs which are just varying. You can also see the outcome-based framework for the BSc Physics. You can also see for Sanskrit. You can also see for mathematics or maybe LLB. So even the UGC has given various recommendations regarding the curriculum in tune with what you saw in AICTE also. And all such documents contain the concepts of the learning outcomes, they contain the mapping, they contain the course outcomes and similar things. So that now, the stakeholders, the students, the teachers, everyone knows that why this is being done. It is not that before this we are not knowing, yes, but now it has been documented in a systematic way. Similarly, the National Medical Commission, which was earlier known as MCI, Medical Council of India, it has also recommended the competence-based curriculum. So you will find that the Bloom's taxonomy action verbs that you must have studied during these weeks, they are also covered in the MBBS syllabus. If you are more interested, sometime I have got the complete the curriculum of all these, and I could study and I couldn't find that very beautifully the various levels have been depicted in this. Similarly, PCI, Pharmacy Council, and apart from this, the two accreditation bodies, NBA we are already talking about, and even the NAAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which is accrediting various universities and institutions as a whole, they also cover the formulation of COs, formulations of learning outcomes, and then the attainments, and the similar concepts. So I just wanted to bring it to your notice that not only NBA has been talking about this, all our other regulatory bodies and similar bodies, accreditation bodies, they are more into this. So now, as a teacher or as a student, I think these are some of the best practices that we must follow, that the outcome-based education is being told to the stakeholders, to the students also, and to the teachers also upon their joining. So let me quickly start with, I am sure that you all are aware of this website, nbind.org. I am not going to open that. All the documents that we have been talking about, or you have been talking about during this week, so they all are available on the website. So if you want, I can open, but I don't require any need right now. There are different documents, accreditation documents for the various say programs. So if I just talk about UG engineering program, this is the framework of how the criteria are distributed and how the marks are distributed. So you already know that under this the engineering programs, we have got a tier system, tier 1 and tier 2, and accordingly the total marks are 1000 same, but yes, there is a difference in between depending upon whether you are a university, autonomous college, or maybe an affiliated college. So this is for something for the UG engineering program, and you see that the how concept of outcome based education has been highlighted in. It is there in criteria 1 also, it is there in criteria 3 also, it is there in criteria 7 also explicitly, but otherwise also it is there in most of the criteria. Similarly, this is for the MBA program. I don't know, there may be some of my colleagues from MBA department also. So here also you see total marks are 1000, but yes, these are little different criteria. Industry and international connect is a new thing here. Alumni performance and connect is a new thing from engineering. So but here also you find you have those criteria, similar ones, that is the vision, mission and PU's criteria 1. Criteria 3 is program outcomes and course outcomes, and of course the continuous improvement in the criteria number 10. And similarly for the diploma program, I am sure some of my friends must be from diploma colleges. So here also you see there is a stress on the criteria related to the outcome based education. So all these documents are very well available on the NBA website. And if you see the criteria wise documents that are required, or maybe before that, I will just touch what are the various criteria that are available to the evaluation team also, and also to the the colleges also, they can have it from there. So when you start applying for MBA accreditation, the very first document that you required is, of course, after the registration and all those things, is the pre-qualifiers for the each course. So you need to submit the pre-qualifiers. So there is a document on the pre-qualifiers. It's a basic information that you need to fill up. And after the preliminary assessment, the NB informs you that whether you should move ahead or not. And accordingly, if it is okay, then you go ahead with the next document given at number 2, that is the SAR. So self-assessment report is another, the major document that is available for all these different programs. So for all the programs, this SAR is different. Say if I talk about engineering programs, UG engineering program, SAR is different. PG engineering program, SAR is different. Similarly, diploma programs, MBA programs, or the MC program. So there are different SARs for each of these different programs. This is what is a major document that you have to fill in. So those criteria that we were just talking in the previous slide. So they all are a part of SAR. Similarly, then there is a document on the evaluation guidelines. So that is how this SAR is to be evaluated upon the visit. So those are the typical guidelines that are given to the evaluators in form of this document. And as I told you that this is a public document, and you can very well go through their website. So say for example, if there are 5 marks for a question, so what is the breakup of that 5 marks, and what is expected out of each of these parts, and how that is to be done. Fine. So these are the major three documents that are available and that are important for you when you prepare for NB accreditation. And of course, there is a format for the visit report, that how the evaluators have to write down the visit report. So that is also available, and other things are of course made available whenever the visit is there. And similarly, one of this is the list of the documents to be verified during the visit. So that is also available when you go for the visit. And of course, feedback forms and so many things. So these are the major documents, or you can say all these documents are provided to the evaluation team. And I'm sure that all the documents are available on the website of NBA, and these are of very much importance to you also, because you must know that what all is to be done by you and by the evaluation team, so that accordingly you can prepare the documents, right? So moving ahead, let us have a look at I have just made is a Word file on criteria wise what are those documents to be required. So I would like to discuss them in detail, because these are the major documents that you require when you go for the NBA accreditation. So let me see if it opens up or not. Okay. Yeah. So these I have named them as the documents of the files that are required for NBA. And when you move criteria wise, so I am sure you all remember those criteria, or maybe you are having in front of you. So let us start with the criteria 1. In criteria 1, one of the major documents that you require is the documents on the formulation of the vision and the mission. So whenever you are going for vision and mission, so there are certain documents that require that I have written them in the details. So first is the committees, the formulation of the committees when you decided to go for formulation of the vision and mission document. So maybe you are having the vision and mission document of the institution, maybe 15-20 years ago, or maybe at the time of when the institute started. So, but now when you're going, if you are going now for these vision mission statements, or if you are going for the vision mission statement of the departments, then there has to be a file, there has to be a documentation regarding the committees that are being formed for the initial, formation of the vision mission. And at the same time, you must ensure that these committees which you form at the institute level are the core committee, and then there has to be a document that how you took the input from the stakeholders, so that meeting from the stakeholder is required in that case. So the meeting could be a meeting in general, maybe like a physical meeting, or it can be an online meeting, or may it be possible that you have taken response from the stakeholders. So that might include people from, yes, apart from students and teachers, the other stakeholders. So that is the alumni, or the industry, or the employer, or maybe somebody from the regulatory body, or maybe somebody from your state government, or maybe from the management. So those meetings, maybe 1, 2, or 3, that how do you arrived, or how do you focus now on the vision mission statement after formulation of committee and the meeting the stakeholders. So then you have to formulate a draft vision and the mission statement. So once you form the draft vision and mission statement, of course you take it through the procedure, and then that is through then that has to be approved through a body. That means if it is a vision and mission of the institution, or maybe even for the department, it has to go through the highest body, highest executive body in the institution, which can be a BOG or the executive council, as the name may be. So this is one file which you can say that this is for the formulation of the vision and mission. Fine. Now there is a typical process in formulation of this. I am not going to detail on that, but still I will just show one flow chart in the later slides. Similarly, when I talk about in the first criteria, when I talk about the PEOs, that is the program educational objectives, then again this activity is majorly at the department level only. So there has to be a department committee for the formation of these PEOs. So maybe, of course, when I talk about department committee, it does not mean that nobody will be from outside this. You can always have some outside expert in this. And then various rounds of meetings details with the stakeholders that case, of course, you will also require some of the students. You will also require the alumni or maybe somebody expert which are from the area of your department in the industry, or maybe your employer, people who have been coming to recruit your students. So those committees, their formulation, their meetings, and then approval of the program education objectives or the POs in the departmental board of studies or in the academic council. So these are similar to the first one, but the first one is more at the institution level and the second one is more at the department level. So once you go through all these procedures, so these are the different papers on the files that you will require for formulation of the POs. Similarly, if I talk about POs, that is the program outcomes or maybe the PSOs, then of course the POs are given by the NBA, so you need to align them to your own requirements to department, and accordingly you need to develop the PSOs, that is a program specific outcomes. And then how did you develop those PSOs? I think it is not possible only for HOD or maybe the core committee to formulate that. So for this also, there must have been some spade work done in the department. So some papers for development of the POs, and then of course these POs are to be approved in your board of studies or maybe in the academic council or some similar border institution or the say university, right? So POs, and then the see, I have listed one and third criteria simultaneously because they are just related in this way. So that's why I thought I will go by this. And then you have got course outcomes. So course outcomes, you must have studied that they are being developed by the teachers, and if you are in affiliated college, so it is possible that is given by your university also. So whatever it is, the listing of all the COs is expected to be there in the curriculum booklet, or which you also call as the syllabus booklet. So it is expected that all those COs will be there. If not, then you need to have a separate booklet of the COs, and in the similar lines to the POs also expected to be approved in some of the bodies, maybe in the departmental board of studies. So similarly, when you go for COPO mapping, then for this COPO mapping, of course, you do not require such approval in what I have been talking about the bodies, but yes, there has to be a specific file where all the details of COPO mapping are available, and it's very much a normal practice that we do all this work in the Excel sheets, and those calculation sheets for PO attainment are available with you. So you need to compare the PO attainment maybe for 3 years, and I think there has to be a specific file which will contain all these documents which are related to the COPO mapping, their calculation sheets, and how the PO attainment has been there, and of course then correlating it with that what was your target and how much is you can improve upon. So all those things are to be there in the files which are related to the COPO mapping. Fine. So this is about majorly about these your first and third criteria, and also related to the your improvements. So that hierarchy of vision, mission, the POs, the COs, their mapping, the attainment. So all these things that you have studied during these days. So there has to be a separate file for each one of them. Fine. So let me have some question before I move on to the next part. This was the measure of the outcome-based education, and the files containing them. Please let me know if there are any questions, because I just want to show you one more.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Can you show the clear difference between objective and outcome with an example?
Clear difference between
Course objective and course outcome with an example.
I have not talked about course objective. I have talked about POs, that is a program education objective, and the program outcome and course outcome.
It's okay, sir, but without objective, how outcome will be coming, sir?
So you want to show me some example on this?
Yes, I want to show objective and outcome. One objective corresponding outcome I want to see.
Okay, so let me find out my file because I am prepared for the document. So no problem, I am going to show it to you. But before that, have you any questions on this files, any other participant? So this is the thing that I thought I will show you later on. So whatever we have been talking about, these PEOs and then the COs, the course outcomes. The PEOs and the VG mission. So the similar type of flow chart is required, and the files or the documents pertaining to each one of them that we have already discussed is to be there. So this was just I thought I would show you. Okay. So moving ahead with the more files on this. So if I move on now to point number 6, which I have started with the criteria number 2 now. So here, which is curriculum related. So very important is you need to have of course, most of the things are available from the university, but still the scheme and the syllabus booklet as per the university, where it is expected that all these details about the POs, COs, and the detailed syllabus, the curriculum structure, the choice-based credit system, all those are available in the scheme and syllabus of the university booklet. And if you are autonomous college or if you are from a university, then of course you need to have all the documents related to the revisions of these curriculum in the various board of studies meetings and in the various academic council meetings and approval thereof. So those details are also available, that how fast you are, or maybe what were the experts that are involved in terms of review of the curriculum, maybe from the industry or maybe from the academic field. Similarly, if you are from affiliated college, then of course in university also this is required, but as per NBA, you also need to keep a record of the contents that you have taught beyond syllabus. So whatever are the gaps, curriculum gaps you find, and accordingly you need to prepare a file of that in the chronological order, which you call them sometimes as the expert lectures also. So along with the proof, whatever were the expert lectures that were taken by the academic experts or from the industry. So as in the point number 7, so which you call them as the expert lectures. So there has to be specific document, specific file for the expert lectures that have been there. So those expert lectures maybe can be, of course, they can also be sometimes when the students they visit the industry, but more specifically we are talking about the expert lectures that are there in the institute itself. Okay, so then is the teaching learning related. So all the details about the teaching learning infrastructure, you can say, or the academic infrastructure. So I'm not talking about the other infrastructure here. So all the teaching learning facilities that are there in the department, you must be having a list of all the classrooms, the projectors, the digital boards, various types of LCS lecture captioning system, and the various provisions for the online lecture. So whatever are such related facilities available. So it is also possible that in this case, your institution must have, during this pandemic time, must have gone for some, digital learning management system, or maybe something like that, where all these lectures are available on that also. So I think that is also that will also become now a part of that. Since in our institution we developed this learning management system, and we are trying that all the resources are available to the students on that forum on itself. Then I move on to the next 4th criteria, which is more of a students related, and there we talk about the students record. So when I say students record, as per the NBA, you need to have a record related to their admission. So because there are specific marks for the percentage of seats filled and accordingly. So whatever are the admission related, maybe if you are a university, then of course this record is must be with you. But if you are from affiliated college, then of course whatever are the registration returns that are sending that you are sending to the university. So all those details are required for that. And let me tell you that it is very important that list of the current students, that means whenever the visit takes place on that day, so list of the current students has to be given to the evaluators. And of course, not only current students, but the faculty also. So those year-wise lists are to be made available. And similarly, every year, whatever has been the result declared, the result details for each of the years are to be available, because there are marks for the the CGPA and the how many students have cleared. So for that thing, the result, if it is from university, so that result gazette or from the control of examination will be helpful to you. And then of course for your own class or for your own institution, you have the details or the structure as per the requirement. Similarly, placement and higher studies, they are the major criterias, and in that case, all the details of the placement are required. And as you see in the performa also, now more details are required in terms of the placement. So it is not only the name of the company, name of the industry, but also some more documentary proof is required that the student has been placed there. And similarly for higher studies also, you must have the record in terms of that, so that you can produce that yes, now the student is doing MTech in this institution and so on. Of course, you about higher studies. In most of the cases in engineering aspects, you must have seen that students are going through GATE. So maybe those papers of clearing the GATE and then subsequently taking admission in an institution. So those papers are required for this particular criteria. Similarly, the parts in this is the students' activities. So I think for this very important part is you must have all the details of first the department clubs. So whatever are the department clubs, it can be your SA club or IEEE, or maybe your institution engineers. So whatever clubs are available, maybe the local club are available. So details means maybe you might be publishing a magazine or a newsletter, a departmental newsletter. There must be some student coordinators. So all the details must be available with you regarding the department clubs. And then listing of the students' technical, cultural, and the sports activities. Of course, in this criteria, we will be talking about the this technical part only, but just for the sake of compiling the record. So all these details, their participation, the prizes that they have won. So these details must be available systematically, chronological order with you. Awards, positions by the students, just that I've told. So these are the records that must be available in terms of the student activity. Similarly, when I talk about students' projects, so these are the major parts in your file of the students' project that will be helpful to you. So very important is even if there are no direct papers which have been approved, but you must be able to tell that what is the procedure of allocation of a student project. One of the ways is that roll number wise, you just force them to go under that teacher and then do some projects. Or maybe there can be best practice that you list out the areas or some projects that the teachers want to float, and accordingly the students can opt for those projects, and then there can be mapping between the teacher and the student. So that is one of the ways for allocation of a project. Then important is whether midterm assessment is there or not. Even if there are no marks by your affiliating university for the midterm assessment, I think you must have some midterm assessment for the students for this project, so that it also helps them and guides them whether they are moving in the right direction or not. Then what are the guidelines of submission of the project? So what is those important things that student must take care? It will include everything. It will include even the format of the writing, the number of pages, the cover, and everything. So all those systematic things that normally we find are to be made available in this particular file. That is the guidelines for the submission of the student's project. Similarly, you must have a detailed list of projects that have been allotted to the different students over the last 3 years, and systematically what was the name of the project, who were the students and who was the guide in this. And then you must have some sample project reports. So we always say that not only project reports, but also if those were some fabrication projects, then you must be having some record on that also. Some models on that also. So that also I think you must keep and show it to the experts that these are the projects that have been completed by the student. You normally find that when you allot a project to a student, so the project can either be a study project, or it can be fabrication project, or it can be industrial related project, or it can be experimental project, or it can be industrial project. So these are the typical 4 or 5 categories that normally we give it to the students, and you must ensure that all the projects, all the categories are covered, so that there is a proper mix between the set of those project reports that you are presenting to the committee. Apart from that, if possible, please have a assessment detail about the rubrics. So that means how you are assessing the rubrics in between, how much the student has worked, and then how much he has achieved stage 1, stage 2, and finally how the marks are to be given to the students. So if you have developed a rubrics, so I think it is a best practice in the case of the students' projects also. So these are all the details that are, I think, required in the students' projects. And of course, not only these papers, many of the things they come through the discussion with the head of department and the faculty. Fine. Then there has to be one mentoring system, which we normally call as under the say maybe career counseling cells, or maybe separate for the different departments. So there must be some guidelines for the mentoring system, that how this mentoring is being going on. Is there any mentor-mentee booklet containing all the details? So how the students are allotted to a mentor in the department, what is the ratio of that? And finally, actual practice, that means how those mentors are meeting with the students, and what are they discussing, whether they are giving some advice on their career prospects, or maybe how to appear for GATE examination, whatever those say advice, or whatever are those queries of the students. So I think this mentor booklet must contain that, and there must be some record of all these things, so that at the end of the day you can have some documents to show that yes, this is our system. Let me tell you, I am not only talking about the documents, because just it has been given to me. Apart from that, everything has to be there in the actual practice, because if you just put up these documents and in actual practice it is not very much there, then of course there will be discussion with the students also. So these are just the guidelines that how to prepare the files, and of course the actual implementation has to be there. Similarly, then the slow and the fast learners, or sometimes you also call them as the bright and the weak students. So how the career counseling cell is there, and what is the policy? How are you identifying them? What are you doing to this to bring up those slow learners, or maybe the weak students? So what are the activities and provisions they are for the slow and the fast learners? So it may be the concept of the remedial classes, or maybe expert lectures, or maybe something beyond the usual curriculum that you are teaching for the fast learners, some web links. So whatever all those different activities and provisions that you have been doing over the years, and a record for that. So when I say activities and provision, that means the record has to be there in the chronological order, or maybe the activities that you have been doing for these different students. Okay, fine. So one file for the examination, the exam related. So here, even if you are from a university, or maybe from the affiliated college, so I think this file must have a link to the exam regulations, which sometimes we also call as the exam ordinance. So what are those rules and regulations for the examination? How a student has to apply for various say for example re-evaluation. I mean, all the rules are to be there in that particular document, which you call as the exam regulations. Then the details of all the midterm and the end semester examination held. When I say details, that means it contains when they were held, what was the lists for them, because these are some of the routine things that we always do, but still we do not put them in a single file. So I always suggest that whatever are such documents, even if they are the routine ones, then you put them in a file so that all such related things, come up. The retrieval of the data is very important. So at the time of the visit, if you want something to show to the evaluator, then immediately it is going to come. Similarly, the conduct and the assessment details, and very important is the question papers. So those question papers must be there in your own teacher's file also, of course, that I am going to discuss later on. And of course, these question papers must be there at the center level. It can be in your department library, it can be in your central library, or it can also be available on the login of the student on your website. So, but these question papers are very important to be made available for the students. Then a general one file I name as an industry interaction, because everything that you are interacting with the industry, that is covered in this single file. So first is the list of the industry personnel on bodies or the committees. So you must be having somebody from the industry in your board of studies, or maybe specifically in some academic committee. So all such standing committees or standing bodies. So wherever the industry people are there, so that that list accordingly, the related papers on that also. Of course, the proofs are required. And then the list of the industry visit that has been made by the students and the teachers. So you see, normally we make sure, of course, not nowadays, but there is at least 1 or 2 industry visits by the students to the nearby industries. So the record of that along with certain proofs. Then active MOUs with the industry. So you might be having some MOUs with the industry and some activities you might have done. So whatever are those activities, a listing of those activities, those MOU is one document has to be there for that. Similarly, there may be some industry linked courses. There may be some courses where somebody from industry is coming on a regular basis from industry and then teaching that particular portion of that particular course. So such courses, if is there any lab which is linked to the industry that has been sponsored by the industry or that has been developed by the industry? Similarly, are there some projects which students are doing in industry? So of course projects will come there also, but yes, specifically to the industry, maybe some projects whether by the teachers, they have undertaken some activity of the industry, and of course the industry internship that as a part of curriculum or otherwise, if the students are going for that industry internship. So all such documents, which are related to industry interaction, I think they are in a single file now. Okay, so then comes the faculty information. So when I talk about faculty information, then it includes, there is a performa in your document also. So that performa contains everything about the qualification, experience, publication, for how long they are here, and some details of the project, some details on whether they have guided some PhDs. So all such details, and also the details are calculations on the student faculty ratio over the years. So it will also cover the student faculty ratio. It will also cover the retention part of, and it will also cover the how much has been the cadre ratio. So all such details are to be available in the faculty information file. Fine. Then related to faculty, one file related to their publications of the projects of the consultancy. So all the research publications of the teachers with copies of paper along with the citation details. It can be on Web of Science or it can be on the Scopus. So all what is the best practice is that over the last 3 years or maybe continuously over a period of time, every 3 years or every 5 years, you compile all the publications of the department. We compile our own publications, and maybe we're putting up in the spiral band form. It can also be done for the department. So the complete publication of department along with the listing will be as a single document. And same is the case for the consultancy that has been done by the faculty of the department in the industry, and some of the patents if they are there. by the faculty. So all these similar things can come up in a single file. Then the details about the faculty attending the FTP or the seminars. So you see that many of you like this one. So many of you you attend many FTPs and seminars and workshops. So the detailed list in the chronological order and along with the certificates. So that has to be kept ready, which you normally call as faculty attending seminar in file. And then specifically we talk about the teacher's files, or sometimes we also call as a course file. So as per my experience, I say that these can be in the two forms. So one can be the personal or the professional information of the faculty. So that means that is particular to a faculty itself only. And then second can be the information related to the course being taught. So these details I am going to just show you. Let me complete this document. Then the details about the agent or the visiting faculty details. So people who have been from the industry or maybe the retired people, if they are on your roles as the agent or the visiting faculty. So one file containing their appointment details and the courses that they are taken, that are being taken by them for the current semester and the previous semesters. Academic infrastructure details. I think this is a very common and very simple thing. We all maintain this. What are the various classrooms, the lab, the list of equipments, the computer details, the software details, and all similar things. They can come up under the academic infrastructure details. And then there can be a specific file for the workshop staff, or which you normally call as the technical support staff. So what are the list of such technical support staff along with the joining, the experience, the qualification, and what are such FTPs or courses that they have attended, maybe in some academic institution, or maybe you might have sent them to some industry, to upgrade their knowledge and skill. So all those details of the technical support staff are to be covered in this. Then some of the institution or department level system, which can be one of the systems of subject allotment in the department, various meetings that are there. So some minutes of those meetings are required. How often you are meeting with the head of the institution? How often you are meeting in a say in a formal way with the head of the department? The mentoring system, which we talked in some above file also. The self-learning facilities that are available. So the list of such facilities and some proofs. One is the club system that I talked at the department level. So there can be club system at the institute level also. Maybe students based on their their hobbies and these things, nowadays they are forming various clubs, which can be sports related, or which can be music related, or cultural, something like that, or maybe technical activities. But just these clubs are at the center level. Then NCC, NSS. And yes, academic audit is very important. So what is the system of academic audit? What is the performance for the academic audit? How you are doing it? Whether they are, somebody from outside is there in the committee or not? And what is the action taken as a result of the academic audit? What is improvement? So that academic audit is, is separate, very, very important part in this. And of course, what is the feedback system in the institution? So, whenever you talk about feedback system, which can be at the classroom level, when you assess the teaching and process, or it can be 360-degree feedback, or it can be a feedback only on the curriculum. Whatever is the feedback, the important things in the feedback are, number one is the how qualitative or how good is the performance of the feedback. So that means how it has been developed and whether it is covering all the major aspects that you want to know or not. Second important part is whether it is online or offline. Nowadays we all are going for the online system of, so we've got Google Forms or maybe links we are given to the students. Third is how you are primarily collecting the data. What is the analysis you are doing on the particular data? And finally, very important is what is the action taken on that feedback. So if there are some inputs from the stakeholders, so in the feedback system, then how you are doing it, what is the action you are taking, whether you are going for a major change, or whether you're going for some improvement, and what is the care that you are taking for the next time. So that thing is very important. And secondly, a very good practice is now we are having online system of the overall feedback on your institution website only, and that is open all the time, so that any student or maybe any say limited your stakeholders, they can also give the feedback upon the system or the facilities. So the records for those and the details of the library, what are the books available, what are the volumes available, what are the other facilities in terms of the digital library, journals that you have subscribed to. So these are the major parts in the institution and the department system. Then finally, the document is the administration related. So the governing body details or the executive council details, their membership, their minutes of meeting available on the website for all the bodies, and for the listing of them is one of the major things that is required. Not only the highest body, governing body, there may be some other bodies in the institution which can be related to some academic aspect, or which may be related to the finance aspect, or maybe something like IQAC. So all those details of the bodies, their memberships, their minutes of the meeting, so they all are to be available. Similarly, service rules for the staff, they are to be available in terms of the administration related. So those service rules may be from the government itself, that a link has to be given, or maybe a book has to be given for that, or maybe the management has developed some service rules approved in their BOG, and then that is a part of that. So I am including all those things in this, maybe the related one, which can be the promotion rules also. Apart from this, there might be various policies that you must have developed. So it can be policy related to waste management. It can be policy which is related to your student grievances. It can be policy related to your IT aspects, like IT policy. So whatever policies that you have developed over a period of time for the very good running of the institution, so those policies are to be there. Similarly, the ICC is a very important, internal complaints committee, which you also call as the women's cell, but now it is called the internal complaints committee. So the formulation of this ICC, and what are the activities, and what are the minutes of meetings, all those things that are to be covered in this. There is specific formation of ICC as per the UGC, and AICTE, everyone has adopted that. Similarly, one equity cell, or maybe as per the requirements, you also call it as a SCST cell or the equity cell, or maybe a related name, because as per the requirements of regulatory body, you also need to have one anti-discrimination officer. So all these related aspects are to be covered in this, and there can be something like for incubation or startup. So if it is available, then all those papers related to them. Grievance redressal I have already talked about. Then of course the accounts related information has to be available on your website, which can be related to the budget allocation every year. So what has been the utilization, what is the procedure, and how you are raising the demand, and how it goes upon. So not only file will work for this. I think this is a more of a part of discussion when the committee comes and you have to explain and show all the related papers as an example that how it is being done. Fine. So this is it about the documents that I just thought I would prepare for various this. And now let me come to that teacher's file that I left in between, that I have to show you. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what are GB details?
Governing body.
Okay. Thank you.
Sometimes you call as governing body, sometimes you call them as a, BOG, sometimes you call them executive council.
Okay.
Sir, regarding faculty training, is there any weightage to be followed, sir, for 12 days attending FTP or 5 days?
Yes, ma'am. There is a weightage as per the NBA criteria.
Okay.
you know, it has to be 3 days or 6 days. So accordingly, marks are given for each faculty. So you will find in criteria 5, you must have seen in SCR that there are marks for, how many FDP you are attending, and maximum of 5 marks for each faculty. And there is a formula then. Okay. Yeah. Now this is just, based on my, experience in working, I could find out that we are more often talking about a teacher's file or a course file. So we are developing into 2 parts. One is part A and part B. Part A is the personal or the professional information of the faculty, and part B is the information related to course being taught. Now, why I'm not mixing them is for the sake of the students and faculty. Say, for example, when I say part A, this information is all related to me. So my appointment letter, my promotion letter, qualification, awards, various certificates, list of publications, maybe the H index, ITEL index. So whatever the list of courses that I have attended over a period of time, how many lectures that I have given outside, those lists, then the PhDs that have been guided or the projects that have been guided over the years, then any book if it has been authored, and whatever are the sponsored projects or consultancy as a teacher if I have taken, then how many papers from these publications that I have reviewed for the various journals, what are my various memberships to various bodies, and some innovations and teaching learning process if I think all my record of the academic audit or any such document. Now you will find that all these documents must also be available somewhere in the institution files also. So for the betterment of retrieval, and so that record is immediately available and a perfect record is available, this part A will remain with you because this is your own record. So whenever or what type of committee comes, not only NB, any committee comes, so this is record for you. So if there is some proof required, you as a teacher will immediately have this type of proof. Thus the part B file I say is the file that is related to the course being taught. So the departmental details, the vision mission of the department, the POs of the program, my own attendance register, my own self timetable, maybe the departmental timetable, then the COPO mapping, the course outcomes, the COPO attainment sheet, previous year question papers, the assignments of the sample tutorials that I have given, maybe some PPT handouts, or maybe the links of some of the such websites. Then the course surveys of the feedback sheets, details of the books available, video lectures, web links, the contents beyond syllabus that were taught for this particular subject, and the remedial classes that were taken for this particular subject. Now, you will find that part B is more of the thing of a system that it is related to either to your course or the students that you are teaching. The purpose of making part B separately is for the benefit of the students, because you will find that this semester, maybe you are teaching fluid mechanics, and in next semester or maybe next to next semester, as per your interest or as per the requirements of department, you are being allotted now some subject, maybe dynamics of machines. Now a new teacher who is teaching fluid mechanics, he should not prepare a new file for himself. This file is transferable to the person who is teaching that particular subject, so that he or she has not now to reinvent all these things, go for all these websites again, search out the question papers and again collect them and put in the file. So dear colleagues, this file is to be transferred for a particular course to the next teacher who will be teaching this course. If you are teaching this course for this, keep it with you, just develop this file, because once you teach new course, you will have to develop a new file for this. So instead of you developing a new file, why not to take it from the teacher who was developing, who was already teaching, and then you make whatever additions you want to make. Whereas part A is pertaining to you and that will remain to you. So this was the one of the fundamentals for this teacher file. Maybe this is just a presentation and you can add anything on this, and if you find that if something is not suitable at your place, you will also delete the content. But this is just a representation that I wanted to give you. Okay. So these are the files that I was talking about. And then I think this is it. Most of things I have covered, but still, let me see. Okay. So these were the documents for the evaluation team I have talked about, institution I have talked about, and then yeah. So this is what is given at the end of your document or whenever the visit takes place. So this list will be provided to you, that what are the documents you require. So this is one way, maybe you can develop files like this, because some things are not covered in that one. Say, for example, medical care records and usage of ambulance, all these things. But yes, the major record is covered there criteria wise, and I think it is more helpful to you, and you can just check up if anything is left. What we talked in that, composition of bodies, rules, regulations, budget allocation. Website is very important. Whenever the committee visits, very important part is that they will immediately see your website before coming there, because they have also to fill up the pre-visit performa, and in that pre-visit performa, all these details are to be checked, whatever you have put it in SAR, and there is a one specific question in pre-visit report, that whether it is available on website or not. So I always suggest all this information must be available on the website. So library, the labs, training placement, safety checks, medical care, academic calendar, course files, assessment, attainment of outcome we are talking about, feedback, documented feedback, list of faculty, result of students, and then admission details. And these are pertaining to your program. NB accreditation reports, if any. Yes, if you are going for NB accreditation for second or the third time, then there must be one. Of course, this report is there that is given by NBA, but apart from them, you must have one action taken report, that what was the points that were pointed out by the NBA team for improvement, and what action has been taken on them over the years, and now what is the status as on date. Budget, admission, we have talked about. Students, we have talked about. CGPA results, we have talked about. Placement, professional activities, paper publication, project reports, faculty student ratio, then faculty details, faculty list, publications we have talked about. R&D, we have talked about. Proof of faculty interaction, list of classrooms, yes, program specific labs, list of non-teaching we have talked about. Bottom courses, new program facilities. So this will also cover up in your ATR for the NBA accreditation report. Overall improvements, then curriculum mapping, course file, rubrics. We talked only about one rubrics, but yes, there can be more rubrics. Then improvement in curriculum, direct assessment, indirect assessment, yes, that we talked about in your attainment file. Analysis, action undertaken for improvement of these POs, stakeholders involvement, so that we talked about in the committees, and then the budget allocation. Okay, so I think this is the major files that we have talked about, and this also I have shown you that how your PO formulation and these POs outcomes were given to you, and this is one I just wanted to show you that this is one that you will have in your PO attainment file. So all those details about for the CO attainment for each of the courses, and then how they were mapped with PO, and finally the 80-20 part that you must have studied for the PO attainment, what is the gap, and finally over the 3 years analysis, what was this target value of the PO attainment, and how much you could attain and how much you could miss. So I think a lot of files required, but yes, more than the files required is your understanding and how you are able to justify the things. So I think that is more important. So this is the part of all of my presentation for the, because I prepared it purposely for the topic allotted to me, that is for the documentation and the files required. So this is one of the sample question papers where CO mapping is there. So when you keep up the question papers in your file, please ensure that CO mapping is there and the level of the Bloom's taxonomy is there and how the mapping with POs is there. I think this you will find in that also AACT that exam reform policy, some sample there also. Fine. So these are all samples, and this is all from my side in the documentation. And one part that one of the participants asked me that I did not cover in my presentation, but I will see that how I am able to answer to that. I don't have file in this folder. Okay, but yes, still I can talk on that. But before that, any questions on this documentation part?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, our CO is available in syllabus booklet, and these are designed by the committee constituted by the Technical Education Department, Haryana, with
Yes.
the association of NITTR.
Yes.
But most of the CO of the subject is not according to the Bloom taxonomy. Can we change the CO? And if we change this, which document or process we required?
See, as far as the COs that have been developed by the various NITTR or maybe something related to that, my see point is that there also experts must have developed all these things. So I doubt that why they are not as per the Bloom's taxonomy. So maybe directly it is not written, but that you will have to find out that they must be according to the Bloom's taxonomy, because whenever you develop a course outcome, then those course outcomes always contain some verb.
Okay.
So in those verbs, it is very much evident that it is which level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Since I am also from the same state, so I think the question may be more particular, maybe now or maybe later on, that why I am sure that it must be from this.
Hello, sir.
In NITTR, I've got a lot of experts related to this.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Hello.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So suppose CO is having one verb apply, and while mapping with the POs, can I map all the POs which are having the keyword apply, and apply is higher order Bloom's taxonomy, and lower taxonomy also can I map as POs for the CO?
You see, when you map COPO, it is very, very rare, because when you talk about CO, then you are talking about one of the subjects that are being taught out of.
Yes, sir. One of the subject, one CO. One CO is having.
So that is. No, see, I mean that it will map on very carefully seen, and as I was telling you that it is very rare that you are sitting with all the POs, because POs are to be expected to be achieved as a result of all the courses and other activities that have been there during period of 4 years. Okay.
Sir, it is sold in Bloom's. Sir, it is sold in Bloom's taxonomy. For example, apply is there. Below verbs are also applicable. Below verbs below POs of that are also applicable for the mapping. Can I do like that, sir?
No, I could not get your question. Your voice is little. There's some echo is there. Can you repeat?
Sir, for example, my CO starts with the word apply. Apply is one of the keywords in the Bloom's taxonomy, so to some level. And POs corresponds to that, and below also are related to that CO. Can I map like that, sir?
No, sir, you cannot map like that, because when you talk about apply, so that apply Bloom's taxonomy word is only for your particular course. Okay. For your course outcome only. So when I am mapping my CO with the PO, then I will have to check up that all those 5 COs of that particular course, up to what level they are mapping with the PO. So just by selecting a word apply, you cannot just map them. it has to be seen that what is to be applied in that particular CO and what is expected out of that particular PO.
Here we are not having the clear picture, sir.
Hello?
So there are some questions in this chat box. So I just saw this chat box, and one question is from Mr. Abhilash Sharma. So are these details in part A are required for my current institution or my whole career? See, these are your informations. When I talk about say programs that they are talked about of that particular duration for which that you are going for accreditation. See, there are two things. One is all your own recording qualification and experience. So that will go upon. And for particular NB accreditation, we require a record for that particular period also. So it is other way around also. Even if I am working in the institution for last 15 years, so my FTP are required only for last 3 years. So, but my list is comprehensive. My list will be the complete list that I have attended. I think Mr. Abhilash, you are getting my point. Okay.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, one more point.
Yes.
Please give some idea about the professional society chapters. Which type of society chapter we start for diploma institutes, and how is the process?
Okay. See, when you talk about a professional society, so you will have to formulate. Number one is you can have some chapter from a body, from a higher body, or from a global body that is already there. Say, for example, if I talk about IEEE, there can be IEEE student chapter. There can be SAE student chapter. There can be institutional engineer student chapter, or there can be IST chapter. So one is that particular professional bodies that are there, and based on them you formulate chapters in your institution as per the connections or as per the formalities of or whatever you have to fill up. Number one. Second that I talked about was some local clubs that we also form. So it is not that you are only going for those professional bodies only and then you are doing activity. There are certain local clubs that the students are forming or departments are forming, and then certain routine activities are also going into that. So these are two things that I have talked about.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Then there is some question. If a course is taken by more than one faculty member, is it required to maintain separate course files? Yes, you both will have your own course files because your assignments would be different and then the other teachers' assignments would be different. So things like this, of course, if at the same time you are teaching the same course, then of course you both will have different course files. Okay, so Mr. Abhilash, there was another question from you. Then there are some more questions. How many POs are required for a diploma program? There is a question from Reena R. See, yes, answer is already written. The guidelines itself say that they are expected to be from 3 to 5, and we normally go for 4 to 5 POs in that case. 7 is not the correct answer, but yes, if you want to go for it. How much score should be there for CO or PO? I mean, it's if you're talking about the attainment, it is on a scale of 1 to 3. So it's normally we can have a target of 70% of or 80% attainment in the case of POs. So PO is the attainment when you talk about from all the COs, and CO is for your particular subject. Sir, please simplify COPO mapping with some example. Mr. Rajkumar Chauhan, that was not a mandate given to me, but otherwise I have got a full presentation on this. That what is COPO, what is COPO mapping attainment. उसके लिए पूरा एक अलग 1.5 घंटे का lecture है. So maybe some other time, or specifically if you want, I can tell you. Should we? Then the question from Mr. Muhammad Sirajuddin. Should we keep only one file for a course even if it is being taken by different faculty? No, the file has to be different. No? if you are 2 or more people are taking. What are extra preparations for 6 years? So there is no extra preparation. This is the sample, what you have to prepare with Dr. Manoj Kaur Gupta for 6-year accreditation. But yes, you have to score well in each of the criteria, and there are the criteria and there are the details that how much you should secure to get a 6-year accreditation. And you have to secure marks in each of these criteria as an affiliated college. So if your score is above 750, you get a 6-year accreditation, of course, with some other riders. Okay. So I think there are no other questions.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
There was Indian Society of Technical Education, IST, is there. Do you know its website, sir? Is it existing now?
IST is there now, yes. Yes, IST is very there now.
I got a membership, but I missed the proof. Can you tell the website, sir?
IST website. No, I don't remember that. I have to check on the Google. But yes, IST website is there. Their office is there. Earlier, their office was there and behind IIT Delhi. So I have been to that. But yes, the website is there.
I attended one course also, sir, and we have a IST.
Yeah, IST is their website is there, and you can get it from them. Okay. So any other question?
I'll see in Google, sir.
See, there are. I know there are many questions, but this presentation was specifically developed for documents. And if you got some specific queries and anything, so you are always welcome to connect with me. So
sir, I wanted to ask you, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, जैसे हमने ये semester for this semester I have taught a subject. Now my course material will be the same because the content is the same, the chapters are same. So I will be having the same PPTs and the same material handouts to give to the student. Now the next year also it may happen that I may have the same. So when we make the course file, so this is academic year 2021. Now after maybe in 2023, my file would, the content would be the same, but it is only the attendance sheet that will differ, the question papers which will differ, because you said now the course file.
Yeah.
But
Madam,
the content is more or less same only, no sir? Little difference only.
Madam, you are absolutely right. Course file will more or less be same, except the assignments will change, except the question paper will change and similar things. And let me tell you very important thing. कोर्स फाइल हर साल चेंज नहीं करनी हमने. अगर हम टीचर है तो मेरी कोर्स फाइल तो वही रहेगी ना जब तक मैं कोर्स पढ़ा रहा हूँ.
Exactly. थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे होता है जैसे we get to know new things we will put it.
Yeah. That's it. And additions will be there. You should say that additions will be there.
हाँ. Right.
Additions will be there in that case.
हमारा जो हमें क्या करने का कोर्स फाइल तो एक बनाने का जिसमें कंटेंट इज सेम, बट एक और फाइल बनाने का जो एकेडमिक ईयर 2021, एकेडमिक ईयर 2022 जिसमें अटेंडेंस शीट्स, क्वेश्चन पेपर्स, दिस ऑल डिफर है ना सर?
नहीं मैडम, ऐसा भी नहीं है. कोर्स फाइल विल रिमेन सेम. अगर मान लो हम एक टीचर है तो मेरी कोर्स फाइल एक ही होगी, उसी में एडिशंस होंगे. मेरी जो मैंने सब्जेक्ट 2 साल पहले पढ़ाया था उसके भी उसमें लगे होंगे और इस बार वाले भी लगे होंगे. सो माय कोर्स फाइल ऑफ कोर्स इंप्रूवमेंट्स इज देयर. Say for example, now in the time of pandemic, we are more or less now we are telling the students about the online things that are online resources that are available.
Correct.
As I told you that we developed a learning management system. Now we are uploading our materials on that. Okay.
Correct.
So some of you have been asking me about my PPT. So what I will do is I will share a link to my Professor Gill or Professor Dhaliwal, and then you can have that lecture from that. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for very.
Excuse me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. Is there any other query from participants?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
I want to ask one question, sir. Please, you have replied, but I want some further elaboration on that point. You have, I have asked
about the COPO attainment, and we should have a CO score that is qualified. But if there is any minimum score we maintain, that we consider 1.95 for any course objective. So,
See,
sir,
if you're talking about the target level, I think you're talking about the target level.
yeah, target level.
See, as per NBA guidelines, the target levels for the calculation of CO attainment has to be set up by the institution itself. Say for example, percent students obtain mark more than 60%, then you can have a parameter as 1 or 2. So it is up to the institution that you will set up a target initially, then you find out of the COs. Now, as a mature institution and as a responsible institution, you will agree that those targets are not to be kept at the lower level. You cannot say that my target is 40% or 50%, and if they attain 50%, I will give them a score of 3. Okay, so accordingly, a very nominal, say, detail are given in the SAR that if 60% students, so they are kept as at least 60% of the target has to be there. And why not, over a period of time, you can improve your targets also. You find that all my students have been attaining this benchmark of 60%, and I have been getting good students. I am a very good institution. So why not to keep a target of now 65% or now the 70%? So those improvements, the purpose is finally that the program outcomes are attained not only on papers, but in actually your students are able to face the outside world in a systematic or in a best way based on this outcome-based education.
I think, sir, you have attended all the queries. So now it's time to close the session. So, sir, and I would like to thank you for very informative and practical knowledge providing session. So there is a dire need of such sessions, because always there is confusion about what should be the list of files, what should be the documents in those files, and how to prepare those documents. So very nicely and in detailed manner you have described all those requirements. You have also focused that in addition to traditional teaching learning process which we follow, there is importance of additional activities like student clubs you have highlighted. You have talked about various meetings which are important from NBA point of view. And in the end, sir, you have also devoted generous time for question answer session. So I would like to thank for your time and effort for delivering this session. So thank you very much, sir. And I'm sure that you would be agreeing to deliver such sessions in upcoming STC cooperator also. I'm sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.